Imagine a deafening fire alarm. It is just blaring right over your head, rattling your teeth, vibrating through your entire skull.
Oh, that is the worst.
Right. And naturally, your instinct is to look for the smoke, to map out the nearest exit. But when you look around the room, everyone else is just calmly sipping their coffee.
Wow. Yeah.
They're scrolling on their phones. They're laughing at a joke. You try to warn them. You're like pointing to the ceiling, but they just look at you like you have completely lost your mind.
Because they can't hear it.
Exactly. They can't hear it. The danger is absolute. The catastrophe is like mathematically guaranteed, and you are trapped in the agonizing psychological torture of being the only human being aware of it.
I mean, that visceral isolation, that is the exact foundation of what we are analyzing today on this deep dive.
Yeah, we really are.
We are pulling apart a narrative that takes the classic concept of foresight and turns it into, a suffocating atmospheric prison.
And prison is the perfect word for it.
We are stepping into the dimly lit, incense-heavy sanctuary of Kleng Isidro. She's a tarot reader operating in the labyrinthine streets of Quiapo, Manila. And the author establishes this incredibly grounded sensory baseline right away.
Yeah, you can really feel it. The heat of the city, the smell of the sandalwood.
Exactly, the constant low-frequency hum of traffic outside her shop. It feels so deeply rooted in the mundane.
Which I think makes the departure from reality so jarring.
Oh, absolutely.
Because following the death of her grandmother, Kleng realizes her intuition isn't just a knack for reading body language across a tarot table, She inherits an ancestral entry point into what is called the Balintataw.
Right, and to give you some context on that word, it loosely translates to the pupil of the eye, or like a glimpse, or the realm of imagination.
Yeah.
But in the architecture of this book, it functions as a highly specific mystical dimension.
It's a space where the linear flow of time kind of folds in on itself, right? Allowing her to witness catastrophic events before they actually manifest in the waking world.
Yeah, and the author introduces this mechanic through an inciting incident that is just, it's nothing short of cinematic trauma.
It is brutal to read.
Kleng is violently pulled into the Balintataw for the first time. She finds herself standing on this mist-shrouded embankment, staring at an aging wrought iron and stone bridge.
Right in the center of her city.
Spanning this churning river, yeah. And the imagery is painfully slow. It's so deliberate. She sees families packed into jeepneys, children with heavy backpacks, commuters staring out of bus windows, and then
the structural failure begins.
Yes.
The supports buckle. The rusted rebar snaps. The entire structure just gives way in this excruciating slow motion.
It's terrifying.
She watches these innocent people plunge into the turbulent water below, unable to look away, until she snaps awake in her shop and she's just drenched in a cold sweat.
Because the bridge hasn't fallen yet.
Right. But the alarm bell is ringing, and she's the only one who can hear it. And I got to say, my initial thought reading this was to categorize it as like a superpower origin story.
Oh, like the psychic detective who uses her visions to save the day.
Exactly. But the author actively rejects that trope.
Completely. If we look closely at how the Balintataw is constructed, it is fundamentally designed to strip Kleng of agency.
It really is.
The environment itself is oppressive. The sky is this bruised, swirling canvas of purple and silver.
Yeah, and the ground is obscured by this heavy shifting mist.
And the worst part is, when Kleng instinctively lunges forward in the dream to warn the commuters or try to brace the collapsing concrete, she just slams into an impenetrable, invisible barrier.
She is completely locked out of the event. It's literally a barrier of pure observation.
Which forces us to look at the psychological toll of this ability.
Right. The whole theme here is the burden of foresight. And we see this historically with the Cassandra complex from Greek mythology.
Oh, perfect analogy.
Yeah, Apollo gave Cassandra the gift of absolute perfect prophecy. But when she rejected his advances, he cursed her so that no one would ever believe a word she said.
She had to walk the streets of Troy knowing the wooden horse was a slaughterhouse waiting to open.
Tearing her hair out while her own family celebrated their impending doom. Exactly. So it begs the question, does the author frame the Balintataw as an ancestral gift, or is it basically a parasitic curse designed to alienate Kleng from humanity?
I'd say it definitely functions as an isolating curse, mostly because it renders normal human connection impossible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, the morning after the vision, Kleng's regular clients come into her shop. They want to know if they will get a promotion or if their romantic partner is faithful.
Just mundane, everyday anxieties.
Right. And Kleng looks at them and feels violently ill because she knows that in a matter of weeks, none of their career aspirations will matter when they are trapped under tons of submerged concrete.
Man, that is heavy.
She cannot participate in the social contract of everyday life when she is carrying the weight of mass casualties.
You have to see how the author handles this. I mean, especially in the immediate aftermath of that first vision.
Yes, the tarot scene.
Because Kleng's a cartomancer, right? Her immediate reaction to trauma is to seek clarity through the structured symbolism of her cards. So she shuffles her deck with trembling hands and pulls a 3-card spread to try and understand if what she saw was, a hallucination or an actual mandate.
And the cards she draws.
She draws the Tower, the 8 of Swords, and the 10 of Swords.
Yeah, for anyone studying cartomancy, that combination is a masterclass in psychological dread.
It really is.
It is the ultimate nightmare spread. The author uses these specific archetypes to mirror Kleng's internal terror perfectly.
Because the Tower is the most violent card in the major arcana, right?
Exactly. Lightning striking a crowned building, figures plummeting to their destruction. It represents sudden, unavoidable structural collapse.
A literal collapsing structure. The bridge.
Followed by the 8 of Swords, which depicts a woman bound and blindfolded, surrounded by a cage of blades.
Which is Kleng.
This is Kleng. She is paralyzed, restricted by the invisible barrier of the Balintataw, unable to move or act.
And then finally the 10 of Swords.
Yeah, a figure lying face down in the dirt, pinned by 10 blades in their back. It is the card of absolute ruin hitting rock bottom and just the painful finality of an ending.
What I find so brilliant about that scene is the ambiguity of it. Like, the author totally blurs the line between psychological projection and supernatural confirmation.
Right, like, is the universe talking to her?
Exactly. We are forced to ask, is the universe actively communicating with Kleng, confirming the disaster? Or is her traumatized subconscious just randomly pulling archetypes that validate her own panic?
It grounds the magic system in a deeply human coping mechanism, which I love.
Me too. But that internal crisis inevitably slams into a brick wall when Kleng realizes she has to actually do something about the vision.
And that transition from the mystical barrier in the dream realm to the bureaucratic barrier in the waking world, that is where the narrative shifts from magical realism into a deeply frustrating thriller.
Oh, frustrating is the word. Because the supernatural vision of a collapsing bridge is entirely useless if the physical world refuses to acknowledge the warning. And my working theory as I was reading this section was that the antagonist was just going to be pure human stupidity.
Oh, but it's not stupidity, is it?
No, it's something much more insidious. I mean, Kleng gets on the phone with the local municipality. She tries to anonymously report structural damage. She gets transferred. She gets put on hold.
Classic red tape.
Right. And she finally speaks to a dispatcher who uses this perfectly polite, utterly hollow administrative tone to inform her that the bridge is, quote, up to code and inspected regularly.
And then the line just goes dead.
The line goes dead. Isn't the real horror of this book the quote-unquote quiet catastrophe? Like, the idea that disaster isn't always a sudden lightning strike, but a slow, creeping decay of infrastructure fueled by bureaucratic apathy.
Absolutely. The antagonist here is highly organized, systemic apathy. It is the diffusion of responsibility.
Yeah.
The author is exploring a concept sometimes referred to in sociology as the banality of administrative evil. No single person wants the bridge to collapse, but the system is designed to reject anomalies and protect its own budget.
Because repairing a major infrastructure artery is extremely expensive.
But ignoring a frantic phone call from a woman in a tarot shop, that costs nothing.
Wow. Yeah. I love how they also contrast the cinematic explosive violence of the bridge falling in the dream realm with the terrifying, suffocating boredom of a municipal office.
It's such a stark difference.
Disaster isn't always a monster rising from the sea, Usually it's a mid-level manager ignoring a memo about rusted rebar because it's a Friday afternoon.
Exactly. And to bridge the gap between Kleng's mysticism and the city's requirement for empirical data, the story introduces Miguel.
Yes, Miguel.
Miguel is a maintenance worker whose route actually covers the underbelly of the bridge. He becomes the physical tether to Kleng's psychic distress.
He stumbles onto a cryptic, desperate blog post Kleng writes under a pseudonym, right?
Right, and it resonates with him because it matches what he is seeing with his own 2 eyes.
He brings the receipts. He literally walks into her incense-filled sanctuary holding a manila folder full of harsh, high-definition photographs.
Microfissures in the load-bearing concrete. Oxidized, flaking iron joints.
The physical rot that the city's spreadsheets are specifically designed to ignore.
Yes. And now they are armed with both the mystical timeline and the empirical evidence, which sets up what might be the most fascinating confrontation in the novel.
The town hall meeting.
The town hall meeting. They secure a few minutes at an open community forum presided over by a local councilman named Mr. Castillo.
Castillo.
Castillo is the embodiment of the system's self-preservation instinct. He is smug, he's composed, and he is ready to publicly humiliate Kleng to protect the status quo.
Yeah, he attempts to corner her by demanding data. He wants peer-reviewed engineering studies. He wants statistical models.
Knowing full well she doesn't have them in a format he will accept.
Right. He uses the demand for quote-unquote facts as a weapon of obfuscation.
And Kleng realizes that fighting bureaucracy with its own language is just a losing game. The system owns the data.
So she subverts the entire paradigm. She stands in front of this skeptical, hostile crowd, completely ignores Castillo's demand for spreadsheets, and just lays out 3 tarot cards right on the microphone podium.
The 5 of Cups, the Devil, and the Sun.
It is a devastating narrative maneuver. She bypasses the intellectual debate entirely and attacks the psychological root of their denial.
Yes, she uses the cards to publicly psychoanalyze Castillo and the community leadership.
She gestures to the 5 of Cups to highlight their fixation on perceived losses, specifically, the financial cost of closing the bridge, while totally ignoring the catastrophic loss of human life staring them in the face.
Then she points to the devil, and she tells them to their faces that they are not victims of poor budgeting, but willing participants in their own entrapment.
Because the devil card in tarot usually depicts 2 figures chained to a beast, right? But the chains are loose enough that they could slip them off at any time.
Exactly. She exposes that their ignorance is a choice. They are actively choosing comfortable lies over expensive truths.
Ending with the sun as a brutal demand for transparency. Just strips away the polite fiction of the meeting. Castillo cannot fight back with budget numbers because Kleng is not arguing about concrete.
No, she is exposing his cowardice.
The atmosphere in the room completely fractures. It's brilliant because it works. It rattles them.
But
here is where the stakes escalate from passive negligence to active malicious suppression.
Because a rattled bureaucracy doesn't suddenly become helpful?
No, it becomes defensive. And this introduces the true threat of the novel, a force simply known as the Watchers.
Oh, the Watchers. Their introduction elevates the narrative from a sociological drama into a breathless thriller.
Truly.
They represent the immune system of a corrupt timeline, and they operate in a terrifying duality across both the dream realm and the waking world.
Let's look at the dream realm first, because as Kleng forces herself deeper into the Balintataw, pushing past the initial vision of the bridge, she discovers this decaying, ethereal archive, like a library of timelines.
And moving silently through the stacks are these tall, cloaked entities.
They have no faces, just voids where features should be, like swirling pools of dark ink.
They are ancient, they are imposing, and they actively guard the catastrophic sequence of events. They want the bridge to fall.
The author uses them as the personification of inertia. But the true horror is that they are not confined to Kleng's subconscious. They bleed into the physical streets of Manila.
Yes, in the waking world, the Watchers don't manifest as cloaked demons. They manifest as intimidation tactics.
They weaponize paranoia. It starts subtly, right? Like a heavily tinted black sedan idling across the narrow street from Kleng's shop for hours.
Miguel starts receiving phone calls at 3:00 a.m., just dead air and the sound of breathing.
Public records regarding the bridge's original construction firm suddenly vanish from the municipal servers. They operate like a supernatural PR syndicate.
And their methodology is particularly modern. They don't resort to immediate physical violence, which would, create martyrs and draw unwanted attention.
Instead, they weaponize doubt.
Yes. They launch a systematic campaign to pathologize Kleng and Miguel. If they can make Kleng look unhinged-like, leaking out-of-context details about her mystical practices to local gossip blogs, society will simply police itself.
The community will ostracize her, dismissing the warning without the Watchers having to lift a finger.
It's incredibly sinister.
It's a masterclass in building tension. You were reading this, feeling the absolute claustrophobia of their situation. Kleng and Miguel are trying to hold up the sky, and the system is actively trying to break their knees.
Which brings us to the necessity of allies. To fight a systemic threat, you need structural power.
Think of it like a crumbling building. You need a load-bearing pillar to keep the roof from caving in.
And for Kleng and Miguel, that pillar is Mrs. Reyes.
Mrs. Reyes. She is a senior civil engineer with deep political ties. She's pragmatic, respected, and most importantly, she takes one look at Miguel's photographs and recognizes the fatal structural flaws.
She becomes their validator in the waking world. She promises to fast-track an emergency injunction to close the bridge for immediate retrofitting.
Finally, an adult in the room. As someone with a clout to cut through Castillo's red tape, you just breathe this huge sigh of relief.
But the author uses that relief to set up the most devastating emotional gut punch of the narrative.
Oh, it hurts.
The Watchers do not allow load-bearing pillars to stand. Kleng enters the Balintataw seeking guidance on the upcoming injunction hearing, and the realm shows her a completely different kind of collapse.
The betrayal.
She witnesses a vision framed by two specific tarot archetypes, the Hanged Man and the Seven of Swords.
The Seven of Swords is the classic card of deception, hidden agendas, and strategic theft, right?
Yes. And the Hanged Man represents a suspension of action, being tied up and forced to yield. Through the mist of the dream realm, Kleng sees Mrs. Reyes sitting in a sterile office, handing over the emergency injunction paperwork to a man whose face is blurred like swirling ink.
The Watchers got to her.
They found her leverage points. Systemic blackmail is rarely about a single threat. It is an ecosystem of pressure. We can infer they targeted her firm's municipal contracts, perhaps her family's safety, or engineered a scandal that would destroy her legacy.
They didn't have to kill her. They just had to turn a trusted ally into a compromised informant.
And the psychological cruelty of that is astounding. Kleng has to witness this betrayal in the mystical realm before she even has the chance to confront Mrs. Reyes in the physical world.
Just analyze the board state for a moment. The rush hour clock is ticking. Miguel's photos prove the concrete is literally turning to dust under the weight of thousands of commuters.
Their one politically powerful ally has been blackmailed into submission and is secretly working against them.
The Watchers are parking outside their homes, tapping their phones, and isolating them from the community. And the invisible barrier in the dream realm still won't let Kleng intervene.
The author orchestrates this convergence of threats flawlessly. The mystical ticking clock of the visions aligns perfectly with the metallurgical reality of oxidized iron snapping under stress.
The tension is palpable, because every avenue of escape seems systematically sealed off.
And right at the precipice of this despair, the narrative dangles a wild card. Ava Marquez.
Yes, Ava Marquez. A relentlessly abrasive investigative journalist who thrives on exposing municipal corruption. She might be the final desperate play they have left to force the truth into the light.
But we are drawing a hard line right here.
Yes, we are. We are not saying another word about how Kleng, Miguel, and Ava attempt to navigate this impossible labyrinth.
We are not revealing how they confront the compromised Miss Reyes or how this unbelievably tense climax on the bridge actually plays out.
No spoilers. We must preserve the integrity of the suspense. But taking a step back to view the architecture of what we've discussed, this novel accomplishes some extraordinary intellectual heavy lifting.
It really deeply interrogates the price of sight, the underlying philosophy that gaining profound, localized knowledge about the universe demands an equal sacrifice of your personal peace and social standing.
Because having the truth doesn't grant you the authority to enforce it. The truth is often incredibly inconvenient.
Precisely. The novel maps the brutal collision between deeply held, intuitive truth and a bureaucratic machine that demands data solely as a mechanism to delay action.
It forces the reader to acknowledge that the heaviest burden a person can carry is a truth that requires a society to change its comfortable habits.
And the vibe of this book perfectly encapsulates that heavy burden. The atmospheric blending of Manila's gritty, exhaust-choked streets with the sprawling, oppressive purple skies of the Balintataw is just incredible.
The emotional stakes are grounded so deeply in the humanity of Kleng and Miguel that you find your own heart racing, literally mentally screaming at the pages for anyone to just listen to them.
It is a profound, anxiety-inducing exploration of the space between individual responsibility and systemic failure.
Which is exactly why this is the absolute must-read literary thriller of the season. The world building, the tension, the crushing weight of the Cassandra complex. You need to experience how the author resolves this impossible equation.
You really do.
I am telling you, the book is available right now. You need to go grab a copy immediately. You have to find out if Kleng can shatter the invisible barrier of the Balintataw, if she can outmaneuver the systemic suppression of the Watchers. and if she can actually save those innocent people on the bridge before the concrete gives way.
And as you embark on that reading experience, consider one final, lingering philosophical question. We have spent significant time analyzing the suffocating burden of Kleng's gift, but place yourself in that dimly lit shop in Quiapo.
Yeah.
If you were granted the ultimate, undeniable ability to witness a catastrophic future event, but the universe demanded you pay the price of sight, sacrificing your peace, your reputation, and your sanity every single time you tried to change the outcome, would you still choose to look?
Would you still listen to that deafening smoke alarm, knowing you are the only one who can hear it and knowing nobody's going to believe you when you point to the fire? Sit with that, because the breach is already shaking.